Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 13 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over on Anime King of What If Naruto failed his Genin test and was given intense training, and enjoyed that guys. And also, stay tuned for a brand new episode coming over Anime King 2, which I hope you guys enjoy. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be planning talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, as the Hidden Stand was not taking the news lightly. The council members had all gathered together, but they were afraid to first say it, as the one to speak was Chio. The relationship between Konoha and the Stand has been tighter than ever. Reason being, Minato saw that Kumo and the Stone were acting suspicious, given from the recent reports that he got from Jiraiya. So he wanted to strengthen his alliances in any case a war broke out. So Raza, the Kazekage, was acting strangely when he just said that he was going to join with the Sound and bring war towards Konoha. None of the members want that. The Sand was not as strong as the other hidden villages, and they all knew that. Yes, Konoha was a lot more powerful than them. Even though they were ashamed to say it, they will say it because they want to avoid war. So in doing so, the council came together and made up the idea to speak to the Hokage about this new endeavor. With enough support from the council and daimyo, Rasa could be removed from the seat because they didn't want war. So Baki was the one to deliver the message towards the Hokage. Meanwhile, as Minma lost it, he was angry at Naruto as he told him to tell them. So indeed, Naruto tell his parents and his grandmother why, what has been happening to him recently. Kushina hugged him so tight as he literally couldn't breathe, as she didn't want to let him go. Her baby boy, she didn't want to let him go at all. But Naruto saw something that they could not see within the scrolls, something that only his eyes could see, a note from the past leader about the same, well, you could call it an illness, because suddenly his emotions are just dying out. In the scroll, the man said that he did not know what happened, but after 5 years, he could feel things around him again. He could experience the joys of happiness. And he didn't know what he did or what happened, but it just changed. As Kushina, from that moment on, took the pleasure of hugging her son to sleep, to make sure he never forgot the feeling of his mother love. All of them were trying, but it was not helping, and Naruto hated to see the disappointed look on her face when he had to tell her that much hadn't changed. He hated seeing that look. It was the most worst thing in the world, because through and through he just wanted his mother to be happy. He just wanted all of them to be happy. Jiraiya had came by. He wanted to train them for the month, but Minma was busy with Mokidan, and Naruto was working on different elements, so they didn't need Jiraiya's help. As the training continued for the month, until it finally came to an end. As Baki had returned and speak to Minato before anything had happened, so Minato knew everything now. Speculations were made, and there was something they needed to confirm, but they were ready, just in case. As they were sure by now that was not the Kazekage, and Minato had a good idea who it was. So the exam began, as Shikamaru versus Temari, which Temari ended up winning because Shikamaru gave up. He did not have the chakra reserves to continue fighting. It was then that Naruto was supposed to fight with Gaara, but Naruto and Minma was not here. It didn't happen. A massive whirlwind appeared in the arena. As everyone had to shield their gaze, one clear away though, standing there was the two boys dressed in their armor, ready. As Minma went up as Naruto faced Gaara, who was giving him a bloodthirsty grin. Kankuro seemed to think that Naruto was going to lose, but Minma just smirked, as he knew otherwise. Gaara was sending out waves of sand, but when Naruto vanished and he could not find him anywhere, it shocked Gaara as a feet slammed into his stomach. With so much force that it was reinforced with chakra, blood burst from his throat, as he was sent sailing into the wall. As Temari and Kankuro were shocked, never has anyone did something like that to their brother before. To hurt him in such a way, it was quite shocking. So yeah guys, that's basically that's what I thought you guys can switch across the place, check out for yourself. So let's begin this new episode. The arena was silent, and so was the spectators, as everyone watched with a keen eye. All of the various clans were there, the Uchihas, the Hyugas, the Senjus, although they were fewer than any other clan. It most just consists of Kushina being there, with Tsunade, and Shizune, and Tauntaun. Sir Toby, everyone was watching on the edge of their seat. The various daimyos. Mikado, the representative for Tishikaki, was surprised. Mikado could barely keep track of the boy, and Mikado was a Jonin, so that was quite shocking. Although he was a distance away from Naruto, the speed was still quite immense. Yujito narrowed her eyes as she looked down. She was able to see him, but she had to strain her eyes to do so, and she was sure that he was not going all out. Although they were a distance away, that was still quite impressive. Gaara was implanted in the wall. He literally broke into it. He did not come out the other side, but he was currently implanted into the wall. As Temari looked over towards Kankuro, this was the first time they saw something like that happen, that his sand shield could not react to fast enough. This guy was a lot stronger than he put on. After all, this speed was far more immense than the battle that he had with Rock Lee. That kid is surely something, said Kadetsu as he looked towards Izumo. Well, from what I have heard from the preliminaries, he's already tuning level, so this is just merely a formality. Him and his brother are quite something indeed. Well, given whose son they are, they have to be something special. It's not just that. Another Jonin looked towards them. I've heard that these kids push themselves day in and day out to be the best, so they deserve the recognition that they're gonna get. As both Katetsu and Izumo looked down towards Naruto, Minma smirked as he realized that Naruto was not pulling his punches. He had to make a good showing for Konoha, even if it meant beating down the competition so badly. He had to make them recognize, the rest of the nations, that Konoha or him was not someone for them to screw with. As Minma's eyes looked up towards Kage's boot, as he turned his head back down towards the arena. Meanwhile, the Kazekage disguise that Orochimaru was wearing, as Orochimaru licked his lips under that, truly remarkable. Orochimaru had a theory, as those eyes of his also gave him unnatural physique. This boy was far stronger than any other Genin his age, or perhaps any other Chunin. His speed and strength was double. So far, Orochimaru has not seen a drawback from the eyes. They grant him physical power, and not to mention, power when it comes towards ninjutsu aid. And yet he has not seen a drawback. Those eyes were truly remarkable. Orochimaru knew that they could not win this invasion. After all, the Uchihas were here, the Senjus, which consists of Tsunade, who was a Sonic, Jiraiya was on top of the roof. So many powerful people were here. The only thing he wanted to do was cripple Konoha by killing many as possible, and killing the future generation, the children. But he was just using them as an scapegoat. He was gonna make the Edo Tenseis fight Minato, and in doing so, perhaps end the life of the Yellow Flash. Konoha would be very crippled by that, as he turned his eyes towards where the beautiful redhead sat. If not, he would have to go after their mother, to further break them and their spirit. When she died, he had already set out a platoon to go after her personally, to make Minato lose hope, so he would gain a final strike to end Minato life once and for all. Killing Minato and killing Sarutobi was his goal here. And in doing so, even if they lost, he could grab Naruto in all the chaos and flee, taking Minma as well. After all, the boy had the genes for Mokton as well. They were going to be truly fascinated to experiment on. A blood-curdling scream snapping from his thoughts. Tamar and Conqueror started worrying as Tamar looked towards Minma. The boy was smiling. He knew that his brother was screwed, right? Sand came pouring out of the wall. As the sand hit the ground, it came up in spikes to skewer Naruto, who was still there. As Naruto slammed his hand together, as fire built around his body, he literally poured fire out of his points. The Hyugas gasped in shock when they saw what Naruto did. He circulated the fire around his body like the rotation. Neji was surprised. He was standing perfectly still as he was able to push the chakra out of all of his points. How was that boy able to do that? As Hayashi was shocked, he always knew that Naruto was a young prodigy. Both him and Minma, not only them, Mito, was also a prodigy as well. Growing up, the three of them had shown excel skills to push past anyone in their age group. Since Mito's death though, things had become strained with them. They still had their tea talks, but things were not as, well, jovial as before. Usually, Naruto was always smiling and talking with Hinata and Hanabi, including Minma, and Mito was there as well. But now, things were just formal. As Minato watched as Naruto turned all the sand into glass, the heat was something else as Naruto was pushing towards the barrier of lava release, but it was not exactly lava yet. Minato, on the other hand, the man was calm and cool and collected on the outside, but on the inside, if one was to know what Minato was thinking, they would be scared. Minato was angry. His little girl died. Orochimaru was one of them that were there. He was involved in his little girl's death. Minato made a promise to himself that he would not let Orochimaru leave. All of these Soul Ninjas will fall today, including Orochimaru. He thought that he had some way of winning this, but he had no idea what was planned for him. Since Jiraiya found the information that Orochimaru has been the hidden sound, everything made sense now. And Minato wasn't going to let him leave. He would die today, no matter what. Meanwhile, as Naruto dropped his fire barrier, a combination of a perfect defense, because standing like this, techniques could not really break through his attack. Well, S rank, A rank, they could break through it, but Naruto had enough chakra to send off any B rank jutsus and lower coming his way. As Naruto released it, as he waved his hand and released a crescent wind blade that destroyed all the glass in front of him, a massive sand hand came shooting out of the hole. It was not normal, it had strange blue markings on it. As it slammed down where Naruto was, as Gaara came out of the hole, half of his body was transformed. That thing was his arm, as half of his face was looking like a monster jewel coming from his mouth. "Senju!" he screamed. "Show yourself!" As he roared to the heavens. As the spectators felt the unholy chakra, as he raised his sand arm and smashed it down, shaking the arena. As Gaara smirked, as strange mouths opened on his sand arm, as they fire sand bullets in all directions, forced Naruto to leap as the tree that he was behind of was obliterated. Gaara watched as several kunais came towards him. He simply smirked as he blatted them away. But to his surprise, the kunais had strange sealing tag on them. As they stuck to his sand, the kunais then started to freeze over, releasing what was inside the seals, ice. Gaara watched as the ice started to climb up his arm, forcing him to break free the sand as he jumped away. He looked towards Naruto with utter rage as more sand started to consume his body. "This is bad," said Temari, as she realized that Gaara was about to transform. She narrowed her eyes towards Minma. "You know your brother's gonna get hurt, right? Or possibly worse, he's gonna die." Sesami narrowed her eyes. "I wouldn't count Naruto out just yet. He will not lose. You have that much faith in him, while you people don't know who Gaara is." "Huh. You should be quiet," said Minma, and watch a match. "I assure you, your brother will not win." "Is that so?" said Kankuro. "Yes. That was all that Minma said, forcing Yujito to look over towards him as Kurosaki snarled. Huh, leaf ninjas always acting like they're this and that, when in truth, they're not that strong. I can't wait until I get my crack at you guys to show you that the Hidden Stone is a lot stronger. As Minma slightly turned towards her with a single raised eyebrow. But he did not say anything as he focused back on the match. For some reason, that just pissed her off. As she looked towards Akisoki, and she gave him a nod, as Minma will face Akisoki, and Akisoki already knew what to do. Back down into the arena, as Gaara sand arm reformed, as he shot sand bullets forward that pelted the wall. But Naruto's speed was so immense that he was literally creating after images behind him. As Gaara burst all of the after images, trying to kill the real Naruto, but it was all just a fake. This won't fool me, said Gaara, as he slammed his hand down. Sand pooled over the entire arena before it rose. Let's see you dodge this. Sand burial, he said. The sand came crashing down the wide radius where Naruto was, and swallowed the entire area. As Kushina was rather calm. Kushina was a censor after all, and she could feel her son. She knew exactly where he was, as she smiled. Whatever that book said about Naruto not having an emotion, you know, he will pull through, right? Said Tsunade as she looked towards Kushina. As Tsunade spoke once again, Naruto, I've taught him myself on how to fully utilize his strength. That first hit that he got on the Gaara kid, he chose not to go all out. I assure you, he could have ruptured Gaara organs with a single punch. In fact, Naruto got into his guard without Gaara noticing. So I assure you, he's definitely not the monster that, without emotion, you think he would be. Of course my son's not a monster, said Kushina. I'm just worried about him. After all, what mother would not worry? Yeah, you're right about that, said Tsunade. She looked towards Minato. She also worried about her son as well. Despite knowing that he was all powerful and strong, this ninja world was a tricky place. I'm sure everything's gonna be fine, said Shizune, as Tauntaun nodded, as that made Kushina smile. Yes, her son had everything under control. Mikoto looked worried though as she looked down towards the sand, squashed the ground, as it added so much pressure. He's a lot stronger than that, said Fukaku, as he had a keen eye down on the match. He had seen that boy fight Minma without holding back before, and the match was something rather amazing, even by his standards. So, everyone watched and waited, the crowd silent. That is when Gaara's eye twitched. Gaara's sand started to heat up. As the ground cracked open, lava spewed out like a river, forcing Gaara to flee as he jumped towards the wall, hooking onto it with one giant sand arm, as he glared down at the lava that swallowed his sand. Gaara was shocked as the lava burst forward, and on top of it sailing was none other than the man himself. As Naruto slammed into the wall, its feet already raised as he slammed it into Gaara's shoulder. Gaara smirked as his sand started to climb over Naruto's feet. As Naruto tapped his chest and activated the seal, his body exploded, blowing Gaara away as he smashed into the opposite wall. The moment Gaara was about to land, the real Naruto broke from underground and delivered a massive upper kick towards Gaara, sending him sailing in mid-air. Gaara winced in pain as Naruto's feet somehow break through the sand on his body, as Gaara noticed a splash of water. As Naruto noticed that his sand was weak against fire and water, as Naruto was able to use the water to turn his sand soggy, so he would feel the full brunt of his attack. As Naruto flashed above him and twisted his leg and dropped it in Gaara's stomach. Once again, blood poured from Gaara's mouth as he slammed into the ground. Gaara did not waste any time though as sand swallowed his entire body as he got up. I'm not done yet, Senjutsu said. His body was now a miniature raccoon, as he had partially transformed, not fully, but his body was a miniature raccoon. He had a tail behind him as he sent it flying forward, sand bullets so hard they impacted and ripped into the wall, but Naruto vanished, As he touched the armor on his chest as it was a seal, poof! As Naruto unsheathed the blade, as Gaara heard metal sliding out of metal. As the blade was beautiful, made by Kushina's chakra chain, as the blade could swallow so much chakra inside of it because her chain were basically chakra reactive and put together with so much seal to keep it reinforced. It had a beautiful red hilt and black markings going around it. Uzumaki's sword style said Naruto as he lowered himself into a crouch. 10 consecutive slash. That was all Gaara heard before he felt the blade tearing into his skin, literally bypassing the sand as Naruto's blade was coated with wind, tearing through the sand and ripping into Gaara's skin. Gaara cried out in agonizing pain. What most of the people saw was blur. Only to the trained eye could they see the real Naruto moving. As Naruto appeared behind Gaara and sheathed his blade. As Gaara dropped to the ground, blood pouring from his body, most of the sand dropping off. Gaara's eyes started to fully change. No, no, I won't let you. You will not erase my existence, he said. As he was getting angry, Gaara turned as he raised his arm only for his face to be grabbed by Naruto, who got in his guard once again with that amazing speed. As Naruto slammed Gaara's head into the ground. As Naruto brought his foot up and slammed it into Gaara's chest. As Naruto's 5 fingers started to glow, he grabbed Gaara by the face. Gaara's shirt was torn as Naruto slammed his hand right on the seal and twisted as Gaara cried out in pain. He screamed to the heavens as he dropped towards his knees, panting in exhaustion. Gaara couldn't understand. Never in his life has anyone done him this way before. He was shocked to his very core. As Gaara felt his chakra uneasy, but there was something else that happened. He could no longer hear his mother in his head, as Naruto's 5-finger seal had placed a double-layer seal over Gaara's seal, containing the beast within inside him. As Naruto always knew that something was wrong with his seal, the way he spoke about mother and all this crap. Gaara was now on his knees, as he tried to lift his stand, but his chakra was shut. But nothing was happening as Naruto marched towards them, as Naruto gripped the hilt of his blade. As Kushina, eyes widened as she saw Naruto marching towards Gaara. No, as Gaara threw his hands forward, but nothing was happening. Without his sand, he wasn't that powerful. He relied on his sand too much. No, you won't erase my existence, Gaara screamed. As he got to his feet, you won't! As Naruto moved, as a hand landed on Gaara's shoulder, as Naruto's blade was inches away from Gaara's throat, but he stopped. As Gaara's eyes were wide, he was about to die. But Naruto put away his blade and sheathed his blade. Am I correct to assume that you know that you're a Jinchuriki? Whatever voice you're hearing in your head, it's not your mother or someone that's helping you. It's a Bijou that is trying to use you to kill people. And to erase your existence, if you travel down this path, the Bijou will definitely erase it. I see the way that you handle your sister and brother. I assure you, Gaara, if you want to erase your existence, you're going down the right path. What? Said Gaara. You wanna know how I became so strong? Said Naruto. How? Said Gaara, as he found himself actually talking to him, because his mind was clear for once. I fight for the people I love. My brother, my mother, my father, my grandmother. Everyone in my family, Shizune. Even the perfect sage. Although he's strong enough to protect himself. I fight because one day, they might need my help. I will fight and train so I can protect them. But you, Gaara, you're not fighting for anyone. And in doing so, you will stay weak. You've never been bested this way before and you don't know how to handle it. But I assure you, Gaara, I'm not as strong as some monsters out there. People that could kill you within seconds. And from today on, I realize I define my own fate. I will not let myself be controlled by some pair of eyes. I define my own fate, and you can do the same. But you have to cherish the people that are close to you, because you don't know when they might just leave and never return, said Naruto. as Gaara found himself shocked. But that was the last net he heard as Naruto chopping back of the neck as he fell unconscious right into the arm. As the proctor flashed out there, including the medics, as Naruto placed Gaara down in the stretcher. The moment he did, his hand was raised up. The cheers that went on was deafening. People were screaming, they were shouting in delight. As Naruto looked up at all the people, all those that surrounded him, and a small smile was on his face. As Kushina was happy, she saw her son held himself back. He will define his own fate, not anyone or anything else, and that made her so happy. Up in the booth, I must say, your son is quite something, Hokage-dano, said this guy's Orochimaru. It seems my son never stood a chance in the beginning. Orochimaru was pissed off. Gaara was supposed to be their trump card. But it did not matter. He just wanted a diversion so he could get Naruto. And he would not call the invasion yet, he needed Naruto tired. He needed him weakened. To the way things are going, if things played out as he thought, Naruto would fight the two-kill Jinchuriki. If things go as he thought, and that would be the point, where he will call the match, depending on who won, it would be glorious and easy picking. As he already had everything set, they were already alerted, the Stone Ninjas, who to go after. It seems he is, said Minato, not really giving away anything. Huh, you don't sound that happy about your son winnings, said Mikado, as he looked towards Minato. Of course, I'm a proud father, Minato said. But this is what I expected. I expected nothing less from Naruto. He's my son after all, the man said with a smile. Boasting, are we? I must say, said the Ray, your son is quite impressive. But let's see how he fared against Yujito. The next match down there was Neji versus Kankuro. Kankuro did not stand a chance. His puppets, Neji could see right through them. He could see all the weapons inside. And not to mention he could also see the chakra threads, which he cut. Kankuro was defeated within a couple of minutes. The people weren't that happy about this match. It wasn't as hectic as the other ones. The next match was Minma versus Akisoki, as Kurosaki gave him a bump on the shoulder. As Akisoki nodded, he made his way. As Naruto looked at Minma sternly. As Minma looked back at him. For a moment there, looked at the both of them were about to fight. Before Naruto smirked, caused Minma to smirk back. As he walked beside Naruto and paused. As Naruto whispered something so low, none of them could hear. As Minma nodded as he made his way down there. For a moment there, I thought the both of you were gonna fight, said Sasuke. Yeah, me too, said Sesami. Oh, it's nothing, said Naruto. Let's just watch Minma win, shall we? Huh, so much confidence in your brother. You leaf ninjas are something else. As Naruto turned, as he walked straight up to Kurosaki, she narrowed her eyes. Quite brave. What? You wanna fight me here? She asked. No, not exactly, said Naruto. I just wanna ask. Are you here to kill me? He said. Or Minma. Kill you? And why would you think that? Perhaps I'm a threat, said Naruto. A threat? Why would you be a threat? You're really overestimating yourself. Just because you can do a few fancy tricks, don't mean that you're that strong, she said. So if you and I were to duel, you wouldn't try to kill me, Naruto asked. Well, I would give it everything I have. But I assure you, you're not ready for someone like me. So pray to whatever god you believe in, that we don't fight. As Naruto's smile unnerved her, because his eyes were not open. As he smiled, it looked quite strange and at the same time scary. Well then, let us pray, he said, as he simply walked off, not uttering another word. His eyes glanced towards Yujito, as Naruto glanced back towards Sasuke, who looked calm. He has been training with his brother. He then glanced towards Sesami, as he glanced towards Samoy. As he then turned his eye back down to the arena, it was then that the match began between Akisoki and Minma. Akisoki was a rather big fellow, as he moved. He wasn't that fast though, as Minma stood there. Akisoki came towards him with two giant fists coming down, not wasting any time as Minma jumped away. Akisoki then turned his hand as he slammed him into the ground. Kushina watches her son drop into a familiar stance as he lowered himself to the ground, observing his opponents. As she watches that fat guy pull his arms out of the ground, and his arms were covered by earth, he smashed them together. As he simply smiled, a big happy smile, before he moved, this time his speed has increased. Minma moved as the ground was obliterated, shattered beyond repair, as Akisoki slammed both of his stone hands together and rolled on the ground like a ball. He was fast as Minma jumped as he obliterated this side of the wall. He did not stop as he turned and shot towards Minma in mid-air. He crashed into Minma as he brought his full weight down on Minma, slamming Minma into the ground. When the dust and smoke cleared, he was holding on to Minma as Kurosaki chuckled. "Well, that's it. The match is over," she said. As Minma was being held by Akisoki, his grip was tight. As he literally held Minma's arms towards his side so he could not move. "Well then, it's time to crush," Akisoki said, with a smile as he started to squeeze. All of Minma family members looked rather calm, as Mikado looked towards Minato, who looked rather calm as ever. What they did not know was Akisoki was known for holding his opponents and breaking them in half. So the Hokage's son was as good as dead. As Akisoki started to squeeze, as Minma scoffed. "It would be rather disappointing to lose to you," he said. "My first match. I assure you, my legend will not be born on that." Kurosaki watched. Big talk for someone who's about to die. Akisoki's eyes went wide as Kurosaki realized that Naruto, no one said anything to her. As Akisoki felt his arms being pushed apart, he was confused. But as he forced chakra into his arms to squash Minma, but Minma's body started to glow. As Minma started to push his chakra out, as Tsunade was a master of controlling her chakra to be able to push her chakra through every part of her body. That is the point of enhancing her strength, to reinforce her muscles, and that is the same thing that Minma was doing. As Akisoki felt his arm being strained, as Minma's eyes bulged, as Minma pushed his arms outward, forcing Akisoki's arms to push apart. Kurosaki went silent. How did that strong little thing manage to overpower Akisoki? She did not care if it had to do with chakra. Akisoki had chakra as well. Could he be that much stronger? That was impossible. As Akisoki was wide open, Minma wasted no time. As he twisted his arm and gripped his fist, as his hand was literally glowing with untamed power, as he slammed it into Akisoki's stomach. The ripple that was followed next was strong. As Akisoki felt the tremor went through his body, as he was tossed, the wall exploded as Akisoki slammed into it. He coughed up blood as he held onto his stomach in pain and agony. But yet, that wasn't enough to take him down as he got back up to his feet. He was given a job, and that was to kill this one he could not lose. He flashed through hand sign. Earth style, Earth Golem, he said as he slammed his hand down. A Earth Golem rose up from the earth as it charged forward. Before it leaped up in the air as it twisted its foot and brought it down like a hammer. As Minma shielded himself and blocked it as a hammer kick dropped into his guard, his arms like an X. Minma wanted this that Akisoki was upon him in the next second, his giant fist aimed towards his face. And that was all that Minma wanted as he slipped under the fist. Akisoki was rather large for his own well-being as Minma grabbed his leg and yanked it out from underneath him as Akisoki's head smashed into the ground. As Minma then flashed through hand sign, as his fingers started to glow, he slammed his hand in Akisoki's back and jumped away. As Akisoki got back up as Minma formed a single hand sign, an explosion went off. Boom! Akisoki was thrown towards him as Minma jumped and smashed his foot into his head. Akisoki felt his brain rattle as Minma flashed above him and dropped a knee on his shoulder, his head smashed into the ground. Akisoki struggled to get back up As Minma flashed you hand sign, wind style, wind palm, he said. As he slammed his hand wide open to Akisoki's face, the pressure slammed Akisoki away. As he slammed head first into the wall, as he dropped, and he was not moving. Minma released a slight huff as he stood on his feet. As the proctor went up, Akisoki was out cold. As Minma was declared the winner, the cheers exploded off once again, shouting Minma's name in triumph. As Minma looked up towards Naruto, who gave him a thumbs up, as he quickly made his way back up. As Naruto turned towards Kurosaki, she was rather silent, and yet angry at the same time. But he did not pay her any mind, as his eyes caught with Yujito. He was sure that they were sent here to kill him or Minma, but they would fail, because they stood no chance. Well then, seems that both of your sons are something great, said the Kazekage. Well, considering that you're their father, they must be. But I must say they were truly remarkable. Well, we just have to sit back and watch the rest of the matches. You still have your little girl in there. Don't count her out just yet, said Minato. As strong as my daughter is, I'm afraid she's not strong enough to handle your boys. Something a father would never like to say, but it's just facts, said the Kazekage. Makoto was silent, as he was pissed off that Akisoki was defeated so easily. Darui was also silent as well. The next match, as Mikoto smiled, as she was gonna see her baby girl in action. As Fukaku was calm as ever, but on the inside, he was happy for her to show the strength of the Uchiha clan. Fukaku looked over as he looked towards Damien. He knew of the boy. He was a prime candidate for being with Sesami. Two powerful blood of the Uchihas mixing together. His daughter was not ready for anything like that yet, but it was something for the future that he had planned with Damien's father, as he was only looking out for Sesami's best interests. Damien was a powerful fighter, even though he did not make it to this round, something that Fukaku did not understand, as Damien was supposed to break through all the competition and make it here, and it didn't make sense why he did not. As Damien was over to the side, calmly watching the match, but when he saw Sesami's eyes smile, yes, he was happy. He was already liking his daughter, and he was a good kid, a bit arrogant most time, but all Uchihas are a bit arrogant. You can do this, sister, Sasuke said. Sesami smiled towards her brother, as she clenched her fists, looking towards Samui, her opponent. As Naruto tapped her on the shoulder as she turned, as Minma was the first one to speak. You got this, he said, as she gave him a thankful nod. You know, if you lose, this means you weren't ready for the children exams. Her eye twitched, as she had told him herself when they went on that little thing between the both of them, that she would pass all of her opponents, and she would be the one to fight him in the end. And that means you're not ready for me, he said. She raised a fist and placed it towards his chest. You will see, she said, as she put down her fist as she made her way. As both her and Samui made their way down there, as the crowd was anxious to see one of the prodigy Uchihas as well. Over to the side with his Anbu mats on, watching, where no one could see him, was none other than Itachi Uchiha. Itachi was now pushing towards being the captain of Anbu, as his skills were rising day by day. Not to mention, something happened to him after he heard about Shisui's death. The Uchihas were just getting stronger and stronger, and it didn't seem like anything was slowing them down. And with them a part of Konoha, the other nations should be afraid. That is why no one has started the outright war yet, because Konoha was just too damn powerful. But dark forces were working in the shadows. Even though Itachi smiled, he saw his younger sister. He adored both of his siblings, as they meant everything to him, and he would gladly fight any day of the week, any day, to protect them. As both girls stood in front of each other, as they were told to begin, Sesami wasted no time. She was not one for small talk, neither was Samui. Blades were drawn. The two girls flashed forward as their blades connected. Sparks fly everywhere, as they went into a beautiful Kinjutsu dance. Samui, who has been trained with Kinjutsu for her entire life, should be the one who's be dominating this match, but yet Sesami was keeping up with her, clashing with her violently. As sparks went everywhere, neither of them got a hold on each other. Samui jumped back as she stabbed her blade in the ground. She flashed two hands and pointed her finger forward. Lightning release, electric, magnetic murder. Sesami leaped away with quick speed as she dashed forward, twisting her body as she moved to the side. She flashed two hands and she jumped in the air. Fire release, Phoenix Fireball Jutsu, as she released several fireballs towards Samui, who leaped away as they slammed right into the ground. Sesami didn't waste any time as she landed. She brought her blade forward as Samui kicked up her blade and clashed with Sesami. Another Kinjutsu battle as the both of them were moving with elegancy, quick movements, but Sesami was just a bit more faster. As she managed to parry Samui's blade as she saw opening, a brutal kick in her stomach sent Samui sailing on the ground. The girl flipped though as she got to her feet and released another blinding streak of electricity as Sesami already spewed fire out of her mouth as the two techniques collided, creating dust in the center of the arena. Everyone heard the clashing as the Hyugas used their Byakugan to see. The violent battle continued on until Sesami jumped back. "This is taking too much time," she said in a rather serious tone. "Why don't we end this?" "I couldn't agree more," said Samui, as chakra flooded through her body and came out sparkling towards her blade. Her blade got covered in electricity. Sesami's eyes shifted as two totems flashed into her eyes. As Fukaku smiled, the battle started up once again and Sesami dominated the match, showing the elegance and the much greater speed and strength granted you by the Sharingan. It was shocking. Well, Sesami was not a prodigy for nothing. Samui was strong, but she just wasn't that strong. Yujito was a lot stronger than her. That proved that she wasn't up to that level yet. And Sesami was a prodigy just like her older brother, and she was showing that now. As Samui refused to look into her eyes, the battle carried on until Samui made the biggest mistake. Sesami did something rather tricky though. She tilted her blade as her Sharingan reflected on the blade, making Samui look down as Samui looked towards the Sharingan, forcing her to look into those eyes. A quick genjutsu was cast. Samui flared her chakra, but the moment she flared it and breathed through it, she looked dead into the eyes of Sesami. As Samui flared her chakra once again as she shot forward, Sesami was wide open as Samui cut her right in half. That was when she felt something at her throat. As she watched the slice, Sesami burst into nothing but dust. "Give up, or I end you permanently." "How?" said Samui. "Why should I tell the enemy my tricks?" said Sesami. Itachi smiled. So did Fukaku, thinking the same thing. Perfectly done. 3-layer genjutsu. The girl was already done before she knew what happened. Sesami was just testing her blade work. She was a lot stronger than everyone could tell as the cheers went on, as Samui had to give up or she would die. Naruto already knew that would be the outcome. The next match was Sasuke versus Yujito. As Naruto was talking to Sasuke, as Sasuke nodded as he accepted what Naruto gave to him, as Naruto to whisper something to his ear. Sasuke was talking to Naruto first time about this, as Naruto told him that he would have something for him on the day of the match. As Sasuke pocketed them, as he made his way down there, as Mikoto smiled seeing her other son. Sasuke was strong. Although he wasn't as strong as Sesami, he was strong, and he was working hard to show that he could hold himself in battle. She was proud of her young son, despite Fukaku showing, indifference. But on the inside, he was happy for his son. Over the past few months, his son has shown great improvement. He just had to keep up this hard exterior, not acting so soft. Despite loving his daughter and his entire family, he didn't act like Minato. Minato could be a deadly man in the battlefield, but at the same time he could be a caring, passionate father who was soft and there for his kids. But Fukaku was just someone that was hard to show his inner feelings. But Itachi wasn't like that. He showed his brother and sister love, and he was helping Sasuke for the entire month. Yujito went down there, she did not talk. her nails extended, as the match was told to begin. A brutal match ensued with Sasuke using a short kanto that given to him by Itachi, as it was the same one that Itachi used in Black Ops. They clashed violently against one another. The match was brutal. As Yujito though, the girl was going in for the kill. She was not holding back, as Sasuke missed, sidestepped several deadly swipes that would have ripped his neck open and tear through his jugular. As he twisted away and flashed through hand sign, he released a giant fireball that swallowed the area. But the girl simply leaped to the side like an agile cat. She jumped around the arena and flashed away, moving fast. Her speed was great. As Darui simply smiled. He already knew how this match was going to end up. All of them could see, all of the experienced Jonins, that this girl, when it comes towards her skills, was exactly nowhere near Jenny level. She was far above that, as she outpaced Sasuke. Sasuke finally activated his eyes, as his Sharingan flared to life because he was losing rather badly. The girl was just too much faster and stronger than him. She flashed through hands and released a massive fireball that split, a blue fireball that turned into several mouses as Sasuke leaped away. Several fire mouses, but they followed after him. They were like hounding his chakra. As Sasuke flashed away, moving astonishing as he appeared behind her and swing his blade towards the back of her neck, as she turned and blocked it with her claws. Sasuke and her eyes connected. As the girl slumped over, Sasuke smirked as he moved to place the kunai at her throat. After putting her in a slight genjutsu, the match was over. But she snapped back into reality, shocking Sasuke, and it was too late for him to defend, as he received a nasty gash across his chest as her claws ripped into him, followed by a brutal kick to the face that sent him sailing as he smashed head first into the wall. He was knocked out cold. Sasuke had moved a bit too fast. Naruto had spoken to him, as Naruto told him that the girl had something inside of her that was helping her, a Biju. After all, it wasn't a big secret in Konoha, but the younger generations didn't focus too much on it, and Naruto had given the sealing papers. Yujito moved forward only for the proctor to jump in the arena and stopped her, because Sasuke was unconscious. As Inibi was able to break her out of Sasuke's little illusion rather quickly, despite him being so close to her, unable to make direct eye contact. The girl was just that fast. As she won, she did not get cheers after all. She was a Kumo ninja, and Konoha didn't really like that Sasuke Uchiha was humiliated like that. But he fought strong, and he tried his best. As Sesami was angry, as she saw the medics carry off her little brother. But she could not go, she had to stay here. As Mikoto got up, she quickly made her way. Itachi also flashed away as well. But her brother was gonna be fine, as Natty had moved off. They were close to the Uchihas, so she figured that she might lend her help, because he received a nasty cut on his chest. My kitten, not pulling any punches, are you? I was given a direct mission, said Yujito. I must destroy as many Konoha ninjas as I can, and ensure if I do fight Naruto, I will kill him, and Minma as well, she said. As she made her way back to her station, she felt the eyes looking at her, as Sesami's eyes had shifted into the Sharingan. But she was keeping herself calm and collected. She was not attacking the girl, even though she was pissed off as hell. She felt a hand land on her shoulder as she turned towards Naruto. Sasuke is strong. That was all he said, as she calmed herself, as her eyes receded back to normal. The next match was Kurosaki versus Temari. Kurosaki made her way down there. This match did not last long, because Temari stood no chance at all. Kurosaki obliterated the girl. In fact, the proctor had to jump in to make sure that she did not kill her. Kurosaki was ferocious and she was strong. She was gonna show them all that none of these pathetic Konoha ninjas could stand in her way. As she obliterated the girl without a second thought, a 30-minute rest time was given to all of the participants before they move off to the second round. In doing so, everyone moved off, as they got who they were gonna fight next. Minma was gonna face off against Neji, and Naruto was gonna face off against Yujito. Sesami was gonna face off against Kurosaki last, and then they will move on towards the next round. And the first two competitors will fight. Then they will have a good 30 minutes rest for that last competitor to face off against who would be in the finals. As everyone was on the edge of their seats as bets started to roll in to see who would be participating. Orochimaru smirked under his veil. Things went as he expected. Naruto would be faced off against Yujito. Unlike Gaara, this girl had control over her Biju. Orochimaru had been to many places and heard many small informations, rumors. He knew many things, so he knew how capable this girl was. Although he hadn't seen the full extent of Naruto's power, although those seals could be rather tricky though, the boy seemed to be pushing into the master of sealing art. Something that Orochimaru could not allow, that is why he had to take them. Not just one, but the both of them, as Minma was also a prize sealer. As both boys went towards their mother, who was so happy as she smiled towards them, as Orochimaru watched them talking as people stretch your leg, until the 30 minutes came to an end, as it was now time for the second round, as everyone was in anticipation as Orochimaru was just waiting, as he was gonna wait until Naruto's match. Once that match was over, the invasion would begin, as the man did not notice the calm feature of Minato. He thought everything was in his hands, but he had absolutely no idea that everything was set up just for him. And perhaps today would be the day that the great Sannin fall. Or perhaps it won't be. After all, Orochimaru was a man that was said to be unkillable. But how would he face against the Yellow Flash of Konoha? And not to mention, the two boys who were hell-bent on slaughtering all of their enemies, once in a position to do so. As both Naruto and Minma were making their way back, as Naruto looked towards Minma, as Naruto was the one that told him not to kill that other one, Akisoki, because the ones that were coming after them was that Yujito girl, and Kurosaki, he already saw that. They were the ones that were going to try to kill them, so they were the ones that he would have to worry about. And when they got to fight them, they would not hold back any of their punches, because they were coming after them to kill them. And the boys, they had one rule: anyone that tried to take their heads, make sure they got it, because if they did not, they will not hesitate to take theirs. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see the next person, do like, subscribe, comment down below, turn on that bell notifications to be posted. But I'm off now, see you guys soon, peace.